Alright lads, you're with Budget Monk and welcome to a new video. Here today I want to showcase one of the most advanced strategies that I've ever come up with. It's one of the reasons that I'm really obsessed with monarchs when it comes to achieving crazy strategies, and also throughout the course of my grinding, one of the most crazy games, if I do say so myself, that's ever been achieved legitimately with no exploits and so on in the EU4 community last year. Throughout that grind, I would call out and designate Russia to be personal unioned by us. A lot of people would be wondering, like, how am I going to PU them? We don't have missions to do it. How are you going to do it? And we would do it almost every single game. And this is the reason and the way that we achieved that I'm about to demonstrate to you guys. So you could consider this the advanced PU guide. Let's just go ahead and get it done here. This is from this perspective, we're going to be playing as Holland, or insert any Dutch sort of minor here. And this is a pretty reasonable type of scenario, right? Let's say 50 to 100 years into the game, we just pulled on an alliance, yes, with the big super Spain, and he's going to help us against this big French blob next to us, okay? And looking at this war, if we declare war, just waiting for a claim here, we can call Castile to arms without any favors by promising him land, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Now keep in mind I cheated like crazy with console commands, and that includes deleting all the French units, okay guys, if you're wondering. So I'm not trying to demonstrate any skill here, I'm trying to demonstrate the principle. Now even with the yes man command, I can't give Castile the land like I intend to, because he needs to occupy the provinces. So we're really quickly going to try to carpet siege, just like this. And just to be clear, he should vital the stuff. He is rivaling them. It's going to be important that he rivals them, isn't it, guys, if you were trying to do this legitimately. So we'll let him... Perfect. He seems to desire the land. Let him siege the stuff up for a while with the yes man command on, and let's talk a little bit about this peace deal, guys. You know, we're picking away at the English Channel. If we don't have a good Casus Belli, this is really where you should see the strength of this. Anything we take is going to cost aggressive expansion and diplo points. Maybe we don't have the diplo points. The assumption is we already have a decent amount of AE. How else did we take these provinces? So we can pick away at some of these really valuable provinces in the English Channel, but we want to be punitive towards France, guys. If we're fighting him, we're clashing, bringing him down in enthusiasm, we really want to do some serious damage. What are your other options? Releasing nations costs you diplo points. Also, these nations can be guaranteed build diplomacy, they can ally our enemies, rival us, be reincorporated into France. There's all sorts of things that can happen, and they cost you diplo points. Not ideal. One of the best ways to be punitive, unkind to France, and damage them is to hand provinces off to his enemy, aka your ally in this case, the big Super Spain that we've created. And of course, handing off provinces generates favors. Now, this is going to be based on your participation. Keep that in mind. So if you let him do all the work, he won't get that many favors. But you can see by taking such a small amount for ourselves, giving a lot to him. See the participation here, I only have 40%, so that's somewhat realistic. He gets a whopping 40 favors. And as you can see, low AE, no diplo point cost, punitive, doing a serious chunk to our enemy and really bringing them down a notch. Excellent. Now, those 40 favors are going to be absolutely key and fundamental to executing the strategy. On normal difficulty, if you are not aware, you can place your relative as an heir on your ally's throne. And that's just about, we're about halfway there to 90 already, guys, from that one single war. You want to do that when your ruler of the target nation is already somewhat old, like 40 plus, I would say, to just ensure that it goes smoothly and it's less likely that your heir will die. But we, of course, played on very hard difficulty, and never fear that this strategy does work on very hard difficulty, the one that I'm about to demonstrate towards to you. So that's kind of step one, guys, is pick a nation, feed them like crazy. Step two is this here. When you pass away, you're most likely going to have a succession crisis. That is if you do not have an heir, right, as the game goes on. So what you're going to want to do, you have two primary options to avoid a succession crisis. One is to always be at war. So we'll try to demonstrate that here. You'll see in a second, actually. We're going to go to war. The succession crisis will go away when you go to war. So what that means is you want to stay at war Anything that you want to do at peace, like seizing land, you want to set it up before piecing out, and you also want to set up your next war before piecing out. And you basically keep the game paused, seize land, go back to war. And you just chain wars while your ruler is hopefully elderly. You increase the likelihood they would die by making them a general, and then on ruler death, you'll see what happens when we're about to go to war here. But in this case, what I'm going to do is the alternative option is I'm going to PU Burgundy. Being Holland here and just cheating, just quickly incorporating this stuff, we actually share dynasty with Burgundy. And with Yes Man, he's going to accept our royal marriage. We're going to royal marriage Castile because they're the target nation. And we're going to go in here in a moment after we claim the throne. So this is how you PU, right? If you're interested in the basic mechanics, there's a basic guide up above, the simple version of how to PU a nation. This is the more complicated version. And now we're going to go in and we're going to enforce a personal union. So let's just quickly piece these guys out. So you want to PU literally anybody. And keep in mind, guys, that there are a lot of nations such as Castile begins with Navarra. Brandenburg can PU Unspark. Unspark themselves start with Beirut. There's a lot of different nations who actually begin with PUs or have missions to PU other nations. And those often wouldn't be really taken seriously, but perhaps if you're willing to execute this strategy, then you can see the value in it. In my simple guide, I use Muscovy to PU Razan. There are countless ways, and in fact, if you really have no option at all and you're not willing to simply chain wars together, there is an alternative option, which is to actually create a PU, which I'll demonstrate right now. So you will notice, guys, that when I was at war, the succession crisis went away. And now that we have our own personal union, the succession crisis has gone away. Let's talk about the last option here, which is to basically create a PU out of a vassal. So I released Luxembourg, and what you can do, guys, is you would wait 5 years. Why do you wait 5 years? Because I'm not able to break vassalization of him due to him being enforced by a truce. We have a truce with him because we recently released him, okay? So you would wait 5 years until that is gone. And then you use the vassal mechanic to place relative on throne. Boom. Lo and behold, they have your dynasty, and they often will have weak claim. Now, even if they didn't have weak claim, it's not the end of the world. But if 5 years had passed, then we would quickly break him as a vassal, and we would have to wait 5 years for another truce, unfortunately, when you break a vassal. But we would be sitting here waiting to PU them. Whether he is weak claim or not, you simply royal marriage them, and just PU them at your leisure when they don't have an heir. That's that simple, guys. When their ruler dies in like 20 years, it's about 50% likely every time the heir or ruler dies, you can PU them because they won't have an heir you share dynasty. If you're worried about other people killing them, what you do is you quickly warn them. So the stronger you are, the better you are to execute this, because even if he was an independent nation, this is a way that you can guarantee him, because you defend anybody you border when talking about a nation you have warned. This is where you can guarantee them without guaranteeing them or allying them and therefore having a truce, okay? So you can go in and forge a personal union. It shouldn't come to that, but just in case you desperately want a personal union. Now, the next move is to get your trust up. Why do you get your trust up with the targeted nation? Because we're going to want to fall to their dynasty. If we go ahead and look what happens now that we no longer fall to a succession crisis, we gain their dynasty on monarch death. You can always mouse over your ruler and you can see down on the list over there, it will tell you what happens on monarch death, and we gain his dynasty. That's exactly what we're looking for. As far as the rules that are concerned as to whose dynasty you acquire, if you're unsure, the safest way to ensure that we get Castile's dynasty is to just have a royal marriage with him and nobody else. But it normally follows very similar rules to the great power rulings, okay? So the most powerful nation in terms of like overall score, in terms of becoming a great power, will typically be the nation whose dynasty you acquire on ruler death. You can, again, ensure which one it is by looking here. So all we need to do now is to have our ruler die. And when your ruler is over like 50 years old, guys, 45, 50 years old, you just need to keep kicking your heir. That's it. So it requires prestige. Okay, good ways to gain prestige is if you're doing like a crazy world conquest run and you are days vaulting nations, you can convert their provinces. It's really good synergy with religious ideas where you get prestige based on conversions. Religious ideas themselves give you prestige. Just it's all about prestige. There are national ideas for prestige. There are holy cities which give you yearly prestige. The emperorship, all sorts of prestige bonuses, not including, of course, battles, naval battles, peace deals, prestige. Assuming that you have prestige, the religious age, second age, has a bonus giving you prestige for conversions, etc. Assuming you have infinite prestige, then you're good. Why? Because every time you get an heir, you just kick it for 50 prestige until your ruler passes away, and boom, what happens? You can kill your ruler with the kill command. What happens? That happens. Tristamar Dynasty. Okay. So the last piece of the puzzle is to boost your trust up all the way over 80 trust with the targeted nation. Why? You want to keep feeding them, guys. You keep feeding them. That generates the favors. Therefore, they become more of a desirable union. And you boost that trust up. Why? Because at over 80 trust, the nation cannot rival you. When you have 80 plus trust, you can't be rivaled by that nation. Very, very important. You want to go ideally all the way up to 100. Remember, guys, the more trust you have, the more likely they are to be called to arms. So between all the favor generation, you can call them to arms even. You get plus 50 reasons at 100 trust, guys. This means, I think it's 50 at least, but you can even call them to arms against nations who are friendly. They are friendly with, for example, basically creating this massive nation. He will help you left, right, and center. So, for example, we could start going in against England, and he's going to be totally enthusiastic about joining that war and helping us and carrying us, expanding into the English Channel. Now, let's talk about the next reason you want to be over 80 trust. So they can't rival you, because let's assume that we start taking over northern France, the English Channel. There's going to be no nation in Western Europe. Once we feed him once or twice more into France and he eclipses them, there's going to be no nation in Western Europe for him to rival. What about Central? I doubt it. He probably, even the Emperor, if you weren't the Emperor, would be invalid. He's so strong. So maybe the Ottomans, sure. And then who else? PLC or Russia, depending on which one has prevailed. The point is, he may not have valid rivals, and he's very likely to rival you if you don't have the 80 trust. Very, very important. Once you share dynasty like this, his trust is up, you're satisfied with how much he has been fed, you simply break your alliance with him, keeping your relations high as well as that royal marriage, and you just sit there waiting. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when it's going to happen, and that really is the important attitude to have, because there is a limitation as to how many years you can play the game. But in theory, they just need to have no heir. Now, one concern is that you do need to have more prestige than them. Obviously, once you've switched dynasty, you're no longer going to be worried about kicking your heirs. So it's important to build your prestige all the way up. And you can always take prestige in a pinch to kind of bump above them here from the estate. And you go in and take over their nation in one foul swoop. And for people who think all of this is underrated, that is the real strength of this strategy. Some people might think, oh, all this effort just to get a personal union. This is one of the only methods that you can take out a nation who is over 100 war score, or let alone well over 200. There are various ways like the subjugation CB to take them if they're 200 or less, but they could be infinitely large. They could control the entire world apart from what the land you already have. And you can take it in one fell swoop, and it does count, of course, towards the world domination achievement, or any other achievement where you're you yourself or your non-tributary subjects, such as the Three Mountains, for example, if you were a monarchy, they all count because it is a direct subject of yours. Even a one faith, you can convert your subjects' provinces. and it is one of the only ways to go in and take it all in one fell swoop. Just to reiterate, the very hard AI receives 50% aggressive expansion on very hard difficulty, and you can feed them much more efficiently than you can feed yourself, exploiting it in the meantime, their favors, their strength to carry you in future wars with the intention, boom, to take it all out in one fell swoop. And that is basically the advanced PU guide, guys. I thought I'd make a simple version rather than procrastinating and not putting anything out at all. There's been rumor of me not making content recently. I have mixed feelings about it. I might do some, I might not do some. But either way, I hope you appreciated this video. I hope you learned something. Thank you very much for watching, and follow my channel. Follow my epic campaign going on right now over at twitch.tv. The link is down below. And follow Based Monk, the channel at Based Monk, if you want real life takes and real life content. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.